You love it when a plan comes together, and Brett Veach's plan is working, as well as bringing a few surprises today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome in, Chiefs Kingdom. Thanks for making us your first listen today. Make another Locked On show your next one here, because free and available for you on every platform all the time. You everydayers, you know that already, and we appreciate you very much. The first listen thing is one thing, but being here day after day to get all of your information, we very much appreciate that, and we couldn't do it without you. You locos are what drive us, and we can say thank you every single day. You can find more for them or instant information like them on the text line at 816-357-8781. Now, being locked on means that you're on this team 357, whether they're taking a day at camp or not. And they did take a day off, but we got to talk about how this plan has come together and who's going to get there. This is going to be a fun show. We always like Fridays to be a little bit lighter. It just so happens that it's a day off day. So are they faking it or making it? Who is making impressions? That's coming up later in the show. Before we get to that, we will definitely cover the surprises. And there have been quite a few at training camp that have popped up, what we think of them. But we start with the overall mission. Number one is to put this team together in position to press for another Super Bowl, to make that run. And I have to say, Brett Veach's plan has come together at nearly every single turn so far, from the point that they were embarrassed in that last Super Bowl to the point where they opened camp. Everything has gone along as well as you can expect. Is it perfect? No, but the plan is coming together, and that top tier is where it stands out the most.
Don't disagree with that. And we kind of talked about this before we started the show, and you wanted to go a little bit of a different direction, but I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball at you. Talking about that plan, one of the biggest plans, I know we talked about it all week long, but one of the biggest plans was improving the offensive line, and the Jaylon Moore signing, regardless of whether or not he becomes a starter for this team, was a brilliant move. And to me, that's where this top tier plan starts, because the reality is that you had to fix the offensive line, and you couldn't go into the draft having that big of a hole.
Yeah, it makes sense. And when you take a step back, you think about it from Brett Veach's point of view, there's a similarity between the Jaylon Moore move and the Kingsley Suamataia draft choice the year before. And both of them go to the same concept for me. And what I think is so impressive about being able to make your evaluations, follow through on them, and have them work out one way or the other. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, well, Kingsley isn't the left tackle of the future like we thought he might be. And I still thought he had a chance to get there, even as early as before OTAs started here recently. But taking a step back, what that shows is that Brett Veach said, I need to plug these holes. I need to reinforce this line as a unit. We just talked just this week about the top 7 are set. The top 8 are probably set already. And that goes to show that whether you drafted Kingsley to play left tackle and it didn't work out, but you knew he had potential at guard, or you went and got a free agent, which at the time we were a little surprised that you would sign a backup for $15 million a year on average to maybe be your left tackle of the future. But again, Brett Veach was thinking ahead. If I get a chance to get a quality left tackle in the draft, I'm going to do that. And then I have a guy that I know can play right tackle and that I think can go inside to guard as well. And at the very worst, I've signed myself the insurance that I haven't had for the last multiple years. So it's not that it's plan A versus plan D. It's that he's got all those plans, and one way or the other, these pieces are going to fit.
Well, in worst case scenario, if Jaylon Moore was the left tackle, he would be the left tackle, and then you still have Kingsley Suamataia as your left guard. And you're in a situation where once you make that move, you at least feel good about having somebody that you think can step in and play that position. Whereas if you didn't make that move, then you're stuck going into the draft saying, I have to draft somebody, and the entire NFL knows that you have to try to draft somebody, and that's not where you want to be. So this is what he does every single year. He loads up trying to make it to where he doesn't have a glaring need going into the first round of the draft. And it's worked well for him. The only time that I can ever really remember him not doing that would be when he went and traded his first round pick for Orlando Brown, but he still took care of it there.
Yeah, you have to continue to take bites at the apple. And this way, if you can project that swing, and how you recover from it if you miss at your first thought, right? I think that's what he's learned from that process, especially with Orlando, especially early on with the Brilliant Speaks selection that didn't work, where you didn't have a backup plan for how to use a particular asset on this roster. I think that's what speaks to it now. And so then you add on just how well Simmons has played, and you bring in a vet on the defensive side, Mike Edwards, to shore up what is a very, very young group of safeties, right? I feel like all those things have backups to backups to we're going to get value out of this move one way or the other. And I think that's what's setting Brett Veach apart in the way that he runs an organization.
Well, and it goes a step further with a guy that we haven't even seen yet in Christian Fulton. I mean, he went out and got Christian Fulton, who I think most people thought would be a good CB2 anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he'll be a great CB2 in Kansas City once he gets healthy. But the reality is he filled that position and he created competition where he didn't already have it. And then he doubled down on it and went and drafted a corner. And I'm not trying to say that Noah Williams is going to start or play a ton this year at the position, but you still went and filled that position to an extent, pushing players that were at the bottom of the roster, trying to make it to where they have to fight to even be on the roster at this point.
Well, and I'll take that thought and run with it, because I do think he will play significant snaps this year. I think Noah Williams is your insurance policy. He is the plan B for Christian Fulton, who honestly has played several seasons, no more than 13 games in one, right? So like that might have been part of the math checking into that to again have, I'm going to supplement with a rookie that can then get reps, can get his development underway, and can settle in for us when we might be minus the veteran. So they're, in my mind, they're going to be connected for quite a long time, Fulton and Williams.
Yeah. And then you look at the other moves that he made, and obviously the one that just happened, well, a couple of them just happened, but Trey Smith, about a month, right before camp started, George Karlaftis, those are parts of the move, parts of this plan. Don't forget he brought in a guy like Jerry Tillery as well, who we haven't talked much about, but still gives you an option and more of a veteran option at the defensive tackle position. And then you also look at the fact that he re-signed Nick Bolton to a contract extension, got him back on the roster, took care of the middle of this defense, a guy that Spags has said is basically like a Patrick Mahomes of their defense, and somebody that they needed here. And regardless of what you think about what he paid Nick Bolton, it's still a deal that gets him here, gets you to a point where you know where you're at in 2025. And I think the biggest key on all of this is when you start looking and you go back to the Jaylon Moore signing, it's where are we in 2025? What do we think we can do in 2025? And what's going to keep us from being able to get to a Super Bowl if that's where we think we can get to in 2025? Offensive line was the biggest need. They filled it multiple different times. And that is, and the other part of that is you're thinking this is the final year of Travis Kelce. That also has to play into all of this, because you're going to be changing your offense and changing everything going forward. Sorry.
It certainly does. And that depth is key. When we get back, we are going to talk surprises at camp. And no one is higher on the list for me than Robert Tonyan, who looks like he's going to make it right after this.
Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. I've used Monarch Money for at least 7 or 8 months now, I think, and I've loved it. It is awesome to be able to have everything at your fingertips. You see, and it budgets out your money. It shows you what you're spending your money on. It shows you your income in, your income out. It is a fantastic app. You need to go give Monarch Money a try. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year.
Folks, make sure that you check out the other outlets. If you don't know us, we've been doing this show for going on 9 seasons at this point. We've covered this team at various outlets before that, around that, during that. You can find us now at KC Chiefs Corner for Chris and myself over at RGR Football and NFL33.com. Lot to cover here. And every now and then players take you by surprise. And I wanted to mention Tonyan off the bat because he's like 38 years old and quite literally has been a non-factor for multiple years, even with the quarterback that made him as successful as he's ever been in Aaron Rodgers. Now, our buddy Matt Derrick is a huge fan and has been projecting for quite a while that Tonyan might even be the second best tight end at camp right now. I can't buy into that. I think Noah Gray is still playing better from what I've seen, but this is the fact. Tonyan showed up at his age after several down seasons and looks revitalized. He understands the concepts that Andy's going for, what the offense is built around, and very much goes back to maybe some of the concepts he might have seen early on in Green Bay. But at his age, I'm a little surprised that he's outpacing Wiley, who still is coming off the injury. And now Jake Brenningstool is got a soft tissue injury that maybe he won't be available for.
Yeah, and I'm sure Tonyan is going to love the fact that you're calling him 38 years old. But hey, he's 31. That is
Might
up
as
there
well.
when you're talking. Yeah, that's up there when you're talking about these types of players, and you're talking about those backup tight end types, mainly because Mercedes Lewis is one of the only ones that I think has ever played. Obviously, Tony Gonzalez as well, but Mercedes Lewis, Tony Gonzalez, those guys, that type of longevity at the position doesn't happen very often. And Tonyan coming in and being able to do what he does, what he has done, compared to what we thought he was going to be able to do is a lot different. So I'll be honest, I didn't think that he stood a chance of making this roster based on just the fact that you have Kelsey, you have Noah Gray. Wiley is the guy that they invested a draft pick in, and I thought if he was going to practice, if he was going to play, he'd be on, or if he was going to be healthy, he would be on the roster. And then you have Brenningstool, who looked good in OTAs and some of that stuff, but hasn't been able to practice. If he can't practice, he can't make this roster. So the question becomes, how do you get him on the roster? I do agree he has looked good, and I think that he could be a guy that's going to make it at this point, but he has to continue putting days together, and he has to continue doing it week in and week out, because we have also seen guys that start fast and then just peter out and disappear.
True. I don't think it's a challenge, to tell you the truth, because I think right now Brenningstool is out with soft tissue that bothered him a little bit at the end of OTAs. I think there's no reason that he can't go on to short-term IR at the beginning of the season to continue to let that leg heal up, to continue to learn the offense and be designated for return after that, which leaves you 4 slots for tight ends. I think they keep them all. I don't think it's honestly much of a discussion at this point.
Well, and if they go that direction, that's fine. I'm still surprised about the move with Wiley and that he's practicing if they didn't think that he was going to be looking the part, and he doesn't at this point seem to be that point. So we'll see how it goes over the next couple of weeks, but he's definitely one of the biggest surprises. I talked about him plenty. Tyquan Thornton is a big surprise too. And I know that he's had opportunities at with the Patriots, and he's looked good in August at times. But if he continues putting up days like he has and getting targeted downfield and making catches downfield for Patrick Mahomes, he will be on this roster.
I agree with you. In fact, to the point that he's not a surprise for me. I called him out when he was on the practice squad last year. I thought he'd be able to acclimate a little bit quicker, and I was incorrect on that. But as soon as the offseason hit, I've been telling folks about he has potential in this offense because he does things that do work for where this offense needs to go. I'm not surprised. The only thing that I'm surprised about right now is there's still a discussion between what kind of role that he would be in versus Nico Remigio, who I still feel right now is mostly a returner. Yep. Offensive output, I don't expect from him. Whereas Thornton, I can see that very, very clearly coming behind Royals and Juju Smith-Schuster. It's about opportunity, but I certainly think he will contribute this season.
Yeah, and I definitely think that he has the opportunity to, and I'm excited to see what he can do, because when you start talking about the speed that he adds to this roster beyond Worthy and beyond Brown, that's exciting to talk about. That's exciting to think about, having that type of speed to be able to put, and generally speaking, you won't do it because you want different types of wide receivers on the field, but think about putting all 3 of those guys on the field at the same time. How much is that going to terrify defense?
Exactly. The guys who aren't excited about it are called defensive coordinators in the AFC West.
And Rashard Smith, put him all out there with Travis Kelce, and yeah, good luck.
Yeah, empty looks scary this year. And I can see them going to that quite a bit. And I love the diversity here of these positions that we've been talking about as being surprises for this one. They are very diverse. I could see them using 3 tight ends, going back to some of the triple formations, and then I can see them going completely empty with maybe Smith or maybe just a 4th wide receiver out on the field to just go pure spread and attack.
Yeah. And I mean, it's exciting to think about spread out the defense. Like, that's one thing that I've never seen Andy Reid do with Patrick Mahomes. It kind of surprises me. And don't get me wrong, I mean, they do when they're down a lot and you have to. I'm talking about run it as like a normal part of your offense at times. Spread them out. Go 4 wide. We talked about Travis not being on the field as much. This actually could work to that advantage. Go 4 wide and have Royals out there, have Tyquan Thornton out there, have Hollywood Brown, have Xavier Worthy all out there at once, and go use that as a formation. Good luck defenses. That's a lot of speed. And yeah, you could put in Rashee Rice for Royals or Rashee Rice for whoever you want in that and still go 4 wide. I don't care. I just think that you're going to be missing Rice early on in the season. So use it early, get it acclimated, make defensive coordinators prepare for it, because I do think that matters as well. Show it early in the season and make sure that they know what they're doing, and then play off it later.
Yeah, I agree. Now we're going to have shows for you. We're going to cover the weekend as well. We'll give you some catch-up time. But next, we're going to play Fake It or Make It. Whether a player is actually going to make the roster, make a contribution, or make a significant impact, or they just faking it and maybe they're not even going to make the roster. That's next. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or trying to make memories with your friends, this one's a hole-in-one in your energy game. And to be honest, some days on the course or even off of it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and stay energized. I use it whenever I'm getting low on energy, or I need to make it through a show, or it's tough. Wherever the game is taking me, I can use 5-Hour and get back into that game. Golf is all about good times and good people, and good flavors, of course. You got to have those. The grape, ginger, lime flavor use the best parts of the clubhouse to go without any chasing or the need for a bev cart. That helps. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can get the promo code LOCKEDONGolf and receive $20 off of your order. This offer is valid only until September 30th on one order and cannot be used for other promotions. The code is not good for subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with your friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get energizing boost that you need from your power, though. Order transfusion flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. Make sure you check out everything else that we're doing at KC Chiefs Corner, at RGR Football, and at NFL 33. We would appreciate it. I'm going to leave it to you to start off. Who do you want to discuss if they are or aren't real?
Fake it or make it is going to be an interesting one. At this point, you start looking at the offensive line, and we've already kind of talked about it. You said it, 7 or 8 guys are probably already there. I'll go Ethan Driscoll. Haven't heard a ton about him, but he was a guy that showed something last year. And honestly, if you think back, we didn't really hear a ton about him in training camp last year. He got on the field and showed what he can do in the game. That's what differentiates some players, and that also could be a huge differentiation for some of these other guys as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I liked what I saw at the time. The complexion of this unit has changed, though, significantly. Yep. So with the additions, at least 2 starters ahead of him, an additional player that's going to have to rotate in, it's difficult for me to see him making the roster. Will he make the practice squad? Absolutely. So I'm going to say half a make it, meaning he gets back to the practice squad.
I don't think he'll be eligible for the practice squad. I think somebody's going to sign him because I think he's going to show more in preseason. But it is what it is, and the reality is it's an undrafted guy. So you're likely only going to keep 9 linemen, maybe 10, but that's going to be a tough push.
Well, and as we talk about more of these battles, right? I was for certain when camp opened it had to be 10 guys. But with 8 of them pretty much in place, I think
Yeah.
it might be
And
dropping down
Wanya
to
Morris
9
isn't.
now. Yeah.
Wanya Morris isn't in that list.
No, he is not. He might be 9 at this point. So there's your next question. Wanya Morris, does he make this roster? Faking it or making it? Right now, I'm leaning towards making it.
Oh, I think he makes it. I don't think they cut him based on just the draft pick and the fact that I think that they think he still has the ability to play, and I think they're going to want him regardless at some point this season. But he's not going to be a starter, and he's not even going to be the swing. So he is literally going to be the 4th tackle.
Yeah.
And that's probably it, because it doesn't look like they're making him play inside, at least from what we've seen.
Agreed. That makes sense. Okay, so a lot of hubbub about some other positions about who's going to be where. The guy that I might be most concerned about that has played significant snaps for this team that I think is right on the fence is Joshua Williams. And right now, looking at who's getting reps where, I got to say he's faking it. I don't know that he makes this roster.
Yeah, and it would not shock me to see him traded because I don't think that they would just straight out cut him.
Right.
I mean, I think if it comes down to it, they might, but I don't think somebody is going to say, okay, well, he's played in this league. We'll give you a conditional 6th or 7th round pick in 2 years, whatever type of thing, just to make sure that they get him on the roster. So I agree with you. I think that as it stands right now, he is on the outside looking in, which is crazy to me considering how much time and how much effort how much time he is, how many snaps he's put in on this team. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. And that's going to be the change in the draft, the acquisition of Fulton and the drafting of Williams, the guys that we talked about earlier. That has made it really significant for him to have a struggle here. And Najee Johnson's getting play. He's getting reps with ones. That surprises me a little bit in and of itself. So I guess we'll stay with this position. Fake it or make it. Can Najee actually be a starter along with Trent McDuffie and Jaylon Watson if Fulton doesn't make it back in time for week 1?
Oof. I'd say make it as it stands right now. I don't know where else they would go unless they're going to move McDuffie. Yeah, I don't know where else they would go.
Well, and what that would produce is you would have 4 starters. Given we're talking nickel, so 3 corners and a starting safety, all from that same class.
Yep. Yeah, and I'd say it's possible. The question with Najee, and this has always been the question, will he stay healthy? Yeah. And that might be the saving grace of Joshua Williams, is he has stayed healthy throughout his entire career, and that has allowed him to get some of the snaps he's gotten, because you've lost Jaylon Watson to injuries. You've lost Najee Johnson to injuries. Is it going to be something that doesn't happen this year? That's hard to guess just based on the history of those 2 guys. But yeah, for right now, I think that Najee Johnson is probably a starter if Christian Fulton isn't able to get back. The only way that doesn't happen is if they decide that Christian Roland-Wallace is going to be a starter at the nickel position, and they haven't shown that so far this year.
Yeah, agreed. And the versatility there is probably going to pay off because he can play nickel, but he can play a little bit of safety. Same as Shamari Connor. Remember those days when equal lateral replacement was everything Steve Spagnuolo wanted, particularly for Tyrann Mathieu? CRW and Shamari Connor being that similar could be the next version of that. So we might have to start thinking of them as a pair as well. Who's the last guy on your list? Who is a question mark?
You're going to hate me.
Oh, I know where you're going.
Carson Steele.
I'm saying make it, because I think every time we've counted the fullback out, Andy has said, I want to keep a fullback on the roster. There were times people were trying to cut Sherm early too. And I'm not saying that it needs to be an absolute. And Carson does have to get himself straight on ball control. But there are certain things that I don't think you have a tight end that you really feel can be a lead blocker. And I know that you want to have some goal line that isn't dependent solely on Kareem Hunt. So I think there's still a way. Oh, see, don't get me started. 4-point
I couldn't
stance,
resist.
pullback dives
I
are not
still-
what I'm here for.
I'm calling fake it right now. And it's numbers. It's all about numbers. You go out and you sign Elijah Mitchell, who we didn't even mention in the plan. You bring back Kareem Hunt. You have Isaiah Pacheco. All three of those guys are getting run with the ones right now. And unless you have injuries, numbers are going to be hard. And that doesn't take into account Brashard Smith, who's looked phenomenal catching the ball out of the backfield and playing more of a wide receiver role from the running back position. I want to be clear on that. He's not really playing the running back position specifically, but he's playing running back. He's playing wide receiver. Well, playing running back, but playing it more like a wide receiver and being a returner. And if he makes it that way, it makes it very hard for Carson Steele, who also was a returner last year. If he loses his job to Brashard Smith, that's another reason why I think he might not be on this roster.
I fear for him. I feel like he might be player number 49 right now, with only the specialists being 50, 51, and 52. Or, sorry, 51, 52, 53. So maybe he's number 50. It's that close.
Yeah. Well, and it's a big question. And they already released Eddie Chaplitsky, so you're down to
You had to get his name in again, didn't you?
I did. Absolutely, I did. I had to look that thing up and try to figure it out. Yeah, I mean, he's already gone, so it's Matt Ariza that's going to be your punter at this point. And, I think that's a good sign. If he can improve on what he did last year, I think that's good for this Chiefs team. And the question really is going to come down. We've talked about offensive line. We talked about the wide receivers to an extent. And really, the other issue that could play into the corner and / wide receiver battle, and we talked about Tyquan Thornton as a wide receiver, they're also trying him as a gunner, because a guy that's going to make the roster down there is going to have to play special teams at some point, because they're not going to put Juju Smith-Schuster, nor should they even try to put Juju Smith-Schuster out on special teams. No. So you're going to have to use him in that role, especially considering the other guy you started with. If Joshua Williams is gone, who has been one of your gunners, you need to find a replacement.
The ends are all coming together. It looks like a formula that's going to equal out. So let's see what happens. We'd like to know who you think is right on the borderline. Leave it down for discussion in the comments, and we'll try to get back to you next week as we do our next shows. We'll give you our opinion. We appreciate you guys being here. There's always a lot going on, and we try to keep you up to date as best that we can every day on the show. At least 5 days a week, but during this time of the year, more. And we're going to give you that text line at 816-357-8781 to get even more and breaking news. So make sure that you check that out. We appreciate you very much. We hope that you've had a good week. And hopefully the Storms will stay away from camp so everybody can get in their reps to see this team as they get ready to start looking forward to preseason game number 1, where we will get even more answers. Have a great weekend. Thanks for your time. And we'll talk to you next time.